Who would like to give the summary?
There are fires. Something starting the fires. We stopped that. I yelled at some people to move. Then we followed after the people who left.
Because they were looking for the witch.
Yeah, they were going for some witch or something.
Yep.
We found the witch, I think.
Well, we found most of the people. They were all dead.
Yeah, good portion of the people were dead and shaped into some sort of
pentagram
on the ground. Yeah.
Yep. And then Kajika went off to the side and readied an action, and the witch took off and started blabbing something, and Kajika shot. And now, of course, Lucerosi wants to capture the witch and give some sort of long, drawn-out, exaggerated trial to find out information that Kajika really doesn't care about, and he's just resisting the urge just to smoke this witch right here in the first 5 seconds of this episode. So,
well, you did subdue this fallen aasimar, this winged fallen aasimar who was flying around. Yeah, and she is now tied up and gagged. She had been muttering something semi-incomprehensible to herself, and you did notice unusually it seemed as if she was casting spells without actually chanting magical words, because she continued to chant this strange phrase over and over to herself.
Even more reason to kill her before she has a chance to talk.
So she flung a fireball.
Right, she flung a fireball at Kajika. To be fair, after he shot her.
Yeah, I waiting
around. So I am pretty sure Kajika would have shot her if she flung the fireball first, which is really just the reciprocal of this situation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we start. You also managed to look inside the hut you assume she's living in. It's essentially everything in there looks as if it's destroyed. It's in complete disarray. There's blood splattered on the floor, shit splattered on the floor. There are runes written on the wall in shit and in blood. And essentially, it looks as if if she hadn't been right outside it, you might imagine this place was abandoned. But she was right outside it, so this probably is her home.
Yep. The house of a witch.
So she has not yet regained consciousness. It is essentially right after the fight. She's probably going to be unconscious for quite a while. It's exceptionally cold, and it's night outside. So you should have some concern about just keeping warm, because it's going to be several hours of walking to get back to the town.
Well, we should be able to stay warm if we just burn this building to the ground.
I'm pretty good at that. So obviously we're not, the house is not suitable to actually stay in.
I mean, you could. It's it would not be the most pleasant stay because there's no functioning furniture, and you'd have to. It's not like you couldn't find a spot on the floor where there's no blood and shit.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. I've been having some technical issues.
It's all right.
Namely that my headphones decided to just be at 100% maximum volume, and I couldn't get them down.
That could be a problem.
Yeah, for sure.
What are you, Deef?
What do you want to do? You have the unconscious witch. Her home, like, you haven't really investigated her home other than to look inside briefly.
While she's unconscious, we should probably check out the area to see if we can learn more about what she's doing here.
Yeah, in fact, I'll search her if there's anything, unusual markings and such on her.
She does have tattoos. It's not clear that they are significant in any particular way. But they are mostly symbols. None of them look particularly magical. They look maybe more tribal. Off in the distance, however, you do see across a small inlet from the stream that flows by this place, there is a stone circle that's up on top of a hill. Other than that, it's mostly seems to be bushes and trees around here. The area seems to be pretty much overgrown.
Was that where the pillar of fire was?
No, the pillar of fire was actually in the clearing right around her house.
Oh, okay.
T-hole took care of that, right?
When she went unconscious, it went out.
I'm going to credit T-hole for taking that out.
Did my best.
He was in the general vicinity when it went out, so I mean.
Yeah.
I'll go examine this Stonehenge looking thing.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'll check out the house.
Okay. Zarius first. As you approach the stone circle, you realize that there are several bodies piled inside.
Okay.
You can also smell them. It's not an overpowering smell of dead bodies. I mean, you've certainly smelled worse. But that may be because it's winter and cold outside. Because looking at the bodies piled up, you can see that they've probably been here for at least a couple of days. And they don't seem to be arranged in any particular order. They appear to be more in a heap. But the blood has sort of pooled around them. And you notice that they appear to be hobgoblins.
Yeah, okay. As I get closer, once I feel like the far side of it, I guess, is around 60 feet from me, I'll use my Eyes of the Grave just to make sure there's no undead amongst the bodies and stuff.
Yeah, you don't sense any undead.
All right. I'll call over to Kajika then. Some of your people are over here.
Well, what you mean by that?
Hobgoblins?
Well, let me take a look.
I'll just examine the stones and stuff.
The stones also have carvings similar to some of the runes that are plastered inside her house. So this obviously has a more magical significance. Kajika, you come over and you see these appear to be 3 hobgoblins in military garb, in military armor.
Okay. So are they part of Theocracy militia or like on their own?
No, they appear to be from the Theocracy.
Okay.
And like regular military.
Can I discern how they died?
Yep. Give me a medicine check.
There you go.
You're pretty sure they've all had their throats slashed, but you realize looking at them that they've all been killed with necrotic energy.
Okay.
And had their throats slashed after the fact.
Killed by other means.
Now, if I recall, there was supposed to be 5 hobgoblins, and there's only 3, so that means there's 2 left. So I kind of look around to see if I see any more.
Give me an investigation check.
Oh boy. Investigation. Where are you at? I'm investigating.
What you determine is there's a lot of blood on the ground, and underneath the piles of the 3 dead ones, there are additional skeletal parts that look like they're from 2 more.
Well,
It looks as if the flesh was stripped off their bones rather than like rotted away.
Well, we got 5 hobgoblin bodies and 1 very captured witch. I think we know what the sentence is for this one. And I just walk out.
I'll continue examining the stone.
Okay, give me a Arcana check.
We'll see what happens. Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, you can identify, like I said, you can identify that the markings are similar to what's in the house itself. The purpose of them, you're not really sure of.
I'll just go back and tell T-Hole that there's more arcane markings on the stones.
Ooh. So Teal's like, it's like, let me see. And he's gonna go and kind of peer at them. He's like hitting his eye because he's got those special lenses.
Okay, give me investigation check. Well, actually, I guess this is more of an Arcana check. You can see them easily enough.
Cool. Alrighty. You get situated here. Arcana.
So looking these over, you are 100% sure that these aren't as offensive as you might have thought, given the pile of bodies here. Most of these runes are protective and seem to be here to ward off dark magic and evil. In particular, since you got an nat 20, I'll tell you, it is mostly here to ward off negative energy. So creatures of pure chaos would probably have difficulty entering into this circle.
It's like, so I remark, this is odd, These are warding runes to ward off chaos. Seems like maybe this person was trying to protect themselves. Or the people that were actually here were trying to protect themselves from this person.
So I guess a little bit of maybe meta knowledge. I don't know. Does chaos and evil mean the same thing here?
They're not exactly the same thing. There's some overlap. Like T-Hole would know specifically. There was a primordial chaos that once upon a time tried to destroy the whole world, and it sort of resides now in its own plane outside the greater multiverse you live in. There is a primordial chaos. Frequently, though, creatures from that chaos will make their way in, like mind flayers, like aberrations in general, and the demons themselves ultimately were created by creatures like that came in and tried to unmake the world. So this is trying to protect someone from creatures from that plane.
I would share that knowledge.
Do I have any idea why these soldiers are this far east?
No, you wouldn't know.
Okay.
Now,
Do they have any orders on them?
You could search them, I suppose. Give me an investigation check.
Somebody should probably help me with that.
You don't find written orders. You do find a stick, essentially, with 2 pegs on it. And around the stick, there's a series of runes.
I'll pick it up. How big is the stick exactly?
It's about 1 foot long.
I'll just bring it over. Does this mean anything to you?
Looks like you found a stick.
I mean, I guess, Kajika, give me an intelligence check. You might know what it is.
Oh boy. No, not a saving throw. Let's see.
You've seen them before. That you know that military people sometimes carry them, but you're not sure what the purpose is.
Zarius is kind of a pack rat, so he'll stuff it in, keep it.
So, how is Lucia Rosie searching the house?
Well, first he's gonna go in wielding Solosry, so that, being cautious of anything else that might be within, and just kind of at first slowly surveying what lies within, and then based on the level of danger, we'll begin doing a closer inspection of any kind of clues that might indicate what it is that's going on here.
Okay, give me an investigation check. So, looking around you, you don't find anything particularly dangerous here. You do find what appears to be a journal written in Celestial that begins as, at least the first couple pages seem to be just that. It's a journal of this woman's day-to-day life. And at least reading the first couple pages, it seems perfectly normal. It seems as if she spent her days fishing and collecting herbs and wild fruits and berries to live on, and more or less minding her own business. There's a couple of references to her former life as an adventurer, but at least initially, there doesn't seem to be anything unusual about what she's talking about. Flipping through it, you see that by the end of it, the scrawl just gets completely incomprehensible. It's no longer even in Celestial. It looks like it's just lines and symbols on the page, very similar to the ones that are on the walls. So it might take some time reading through the whole thing to figure out exactly where something went wrong for her that this happened.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the inside of the house looks pretty trashed then?
Yes.
You said there's like shit and blood and everything all over the place.
Yes. You do notice that scattered all around amongst this stuff, there are a large number of coins. Since you got a 23, it would also take a while to pick them all up. But as you're looking, you can see copper and some silver and gold. You also find a chunk of amber, a piece of coral, and a garnet. But there's so much crap strewn around that there could be more.
A chunk of amber, coral, and a garnet.
Yeah.
Okay. Does it seem like these things were hers and strewn about, or do they seem to be like the possessions of the bodies that are around the campsite or the grounds?
It's scattered so far and wide in here. You would guess it's probably hers. It's also underneath a lot of things that look like they haven't been moved in a long time.
Okay. Is there any area of the home? So first of all, is the layout, is it just like a one room shack, or are there multiple rooms?
No, this is just a one-room shack.
Okay. And there's no area that seems to have escaped this kind of just mess.
No, I mean there's wood in the fireplace. It doesn't look like she was throwing things into the fireplace.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna emerge from the building with the journal and a couple of those precious stones that I found, and I'll walk over to Kajika, T-Hole, and Zarius, and say, "So, what have you guys found?"
Seems there were they created these runes are protective runes against the chaos and the forces of sometimes evil.
These are runes of protection.
Yes. It makes me wonder if she's the one who wrote these, or if she simply killed the ones that were here before.
No, I mean, as far as I can gather, looking in the shack over there, this is her home. I found her journal, written in Celestial of all things, and it seems that she just lived a normal life, minding her own business, and then at some point, the scrawlings become a little erratic. I think that some force or spirit corrupted her. Perhaps the things that she was trying to ward off with these runes, if she created them.
Well, too bad for her.
Yes, I suppose it is.
Where is she at?
I don't know. Where did you put her?
Laying outside.
If the map is any indication, she's kind of midway between, the shack and the clearing. But I believe we did tie her up. So.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna now that I've seen like these runes and stuff, I'm gonna go over to her and take a closer look because I'm still not sure whether or not they are actually hers. So am I able to sense that or get a sense if she's the one associated with the magic that I saw? I know that.
You mean the runes in the circle, or which magic that you saw?
The guardian runes or the guarding runes.
There's really nothing about her necessarily that says she's associated with the runes. I mean, give me an intelligence check. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing necessarily like she doesn't. While she does have some tattoos, they don't match the runes. They don't necessarily appear to have any meaning that you can discern, and they don't appear to be magical. The most you could say is that the runes in the house and the runes on the stones are more or less the same.
Hmm.
Now that I'm remembering, she was kind of speaking strange things while I held her, especially when Zarius, whatever spell work that you were using to combat her, it seemed to strengthen whatever was in control of her or whatever had corrupted her, if indeed that's what is happening here.
How is Salas reacting to her? Does Salasri feel repulsed by her?
Salasri is Lucia Rossi would know. Salasri has a sort of strange personality in that it's often kind of disinterested in the world, and it's not that it's completely disinterested in her because she's an aasimar, and so that's sort of interested a little bit, but it doesn't have any particular feelings towards her one way or another. You would get the sense that it suspects she's evil and probably needs to be put down as a heretic.
Yeah.
Philosophy more every day.
To T-Hole, I was responding. Salasri,
Salasri feels the same way about Kajika, by the way.
Yeah. So I would say, Salasri is not the most reliable judge as far as I'm concerned. It's mostly just a weapon. The magic, as the dragon said, may be contain a fraction of a soul, but I don't know that we need to worry about how Salasri feels.
Fair.
Salasri will remember that. Honestly, you can actually feel as you say that. Salasri definitely can hear and see everything that's going on around it. It does not like what you just said.
That's fine. If I need to, I'll commune with Salasri later.
I guess I'll go back in and check out the bodies to see if I can find any identifying marks on them, like who they were.
Okay. Give me an investigation check again.
Some dog tags.
Yeah. Hey.
So you largely know where to look, and taking off their armor, you find on their upper backs, all of them have scars that indicate that they're with the 2nd Battalion, the 1st Regiment of the 2nd Battalion of the Hobgoblin Army. Which, that in and of itself doesn't give you a huge amount of information. You know that normally they are stationed outside the capital of the Hobgoblin Nation.
Okay.
So they're even further afield than you might have guessed. They're not just like border guards.
So they could be deserters.
They could be.
From my roll before, could I tell how long they've been out here?
Yeah, you would know that they've probably been out here a couple of days, 5 days maybe.
They've been here near a week.
So it would seem what we have here is a corrupted person. The bodies of the hobgoblins that were rumored to have been harassing the town, and the bodies of many of the people that came to search for both the hobgoblins and the supposed witch.
Yes. I wonder
Well,
who's out here this whole time. It just seems kind of strange. There weren't many projects, or there isn't that much I could see that she's actually have done out here except scrawl some runes.
But also the villagers that we came across were frozen solid. Did she use any kind of magic like that in the battle? I don't recall.
They weren't frozen solid. They were killed by cold.
Yeah.
But they weren't like statues. They were just splayed out on the ground.
Mhm.
She did use an ice storm,
Oh, that's right.
but she also used a fireball. So while you think for a bit, going back into town, Daggerface and Hellweir are at the inn.
That's where Hellweir is.
It's not the only inn at the town. Yes, they're guarding the alcohol in this inn in case somebody comes for it. It's not the only inn in this town, but it's it's probably the bigger of the two. So as you are there, give me a perception check. So you're sitting there having an ale. Daggerface is sort of mumbling on about things you don't care about, in particular about all like people that he said are dead from Alcator, all of whom were elves. In the background, though, you notice that there's a group of hooded figures, 4 hooded figures, and they're slowly kind of circulating around the room, talking to the bartender and talking to the barmaids that are walking around. There's not that many people here, possibly because of the fire or just because maybe they don't go out drinking at night. But you also get the sense that these 4 hooded figures are really keeping tabs on the two of you, on you and Daggerface.
Okay. I would like if one got near me, I probably would grab them and be like, "Who are you?"
They are not getting near you, but you
okay.
suspect that might be purposeful.
Okay. Well, so they're like at a table in the corner.
They were, but then they started circulating around the room. If you continue watching them, eventually they sort of settle at the back of the room again, away from the fireplace and pretty deep in the shadows, as there's not a lot of light in this common area.
I look at Daggerface. I'd be like, "Go to the door. Go to the front door," and then I'd start walking towards the group.
So Daggerface initially starts to ask why, but you get up and leave. So Daggerface stumbles over towards the door. He's been having a lot of alcohol, so he might be at least a little buzzed at this point.
Yeah, that's all right. It won't hurt as much when they run him over.
So he is over standing. He's not standing like in the doorway. He's standing off to the side because you said by the door.
Yeah.
And he's kind of leaning up against the wall now.
So I walk up to the group and be like, "Why are you hooded? Are you ugly or something?"
We're hooded because it's cold in here. Why are you here?
Well, we were here to put out fires, apparently. But we won't be here long.
Well, neither will we. Most people who stay at inns don't stay that long.
So where are you going?
We are headed to the consortium. North of here, if you don't know.
The consortium of what?
The consortium is a country to the north. It's essentially run by a dwarven mining company. Where are you going?
I don't even know.
Well, you are thought of as heroes at this point. You may wish to stay, soak in the accolades of the people of the town.
We shouldn't be here long. And
Maybe you can find yourself a woman to amuse yourself with.
I do not have the time.
So give me another perception check.
Right.
And you know what? I'm gonna because it's you. I'm gonna give you advantage.
Oh, well, I got a 5. Can you give can you give Daggerface disadvantage? Maybe he'll do better.
Let me open up Daggerface's sheet. He might. Interesting if he figures out what I was going to tell you. Let's see. Maybe I can find him.
No.
So he is standing off by the doorway. If he's noticed anything you've missed, he is not signaling you.
Yeah.
You look over again and you see he's kind of leaning with his eyes closed. He might be falling. His one eye closed. He might be falling asleep.
Okay. So all of you are going to the mines. You do not
We're
look
not-
like mines.
We're not going to the mines. We're going to the territory itself. Our hope is that we will be able to open up trade negotiations to purchase ore from their mines. Although the whole country is itself not mines, they've many goods that you can trade. You have correctly guessed what we're interested in, though.
So, well then, good day, and I just walk away. And I just beckon at Daggerface to come back to the table.
Daggerface's eye is closed, so
Well,
You see
we need to sleep at the
his-
door.
his head starts to like,
Yeah. I finish my ale, and then I guess I just walk back to camp at that point. And I just like punch him and walk along.
So Daggerface, he decides he can't make it all the way back to camp. He just decides he's going to stay here at the inn.
Suit yourself. The
Town
leaders get
guardians.
kidnapped.
Okay, back to the rest of
Yeah.
you. So what are you doing?
Well,
You could see she has stirred somewhat, but she's not conscious yet.
It is getting cold. We cannot stay here.
I can start a fire.
Will it last?
I guess if you throw wood on it, like most fires.
If we take the time to clean the home, we could potentially stay there. There is a fireplace within. It's not going to be comfortable, I imagine, but it should suffice as a shelter and better than just being outside.
Is there a fireplace in there?
Yes,
Yes.
there is. And there is wood already loaded into it.
Does she have a pile of logs to be put in there throughout the night?
There's some wood. There is a stack of split wood outside, but it looks as if she's already put some into the fireplace, as there's a pile of it already there.
Yeah. Ain't gonna last very long, so.
Oh, I don't have much in the way of cleaning supplies. I wasn't aware that this was that kind of adventure.
I'm sure that we could find what we need within. It doesn't seem like this dwelling was always in such disarray.
So why aren't we putting two in the hat in this bitch and just rolling out of here again?
I am, one, loath to kill anybody who is not conscious to understand what is happening. And also, I think it would be interesting to try and speak with this woman. Even if she is the witch that has been harassing the town, it might be helpful to understand what magic might be afflicting the town's well water, and if she has a way of countering it.
But all the scores of bodies, just that doesn't count for anything?
I'm not saying that it doesn't count, Kajika. It surely does. But we must be wise in how we act. It is not exactly the best route to take to just kill all of those that slight us or are worthy of execution without understanding the situation at hand. We don't know if there are others. She may not be the only witch in this area. At the very least, to know that would be helpful.
How likely are aasimars to come out to be found?
They are probably amongst at least the created races, probably the rarest. They're not unheard of. They pop up mostly in human lineages. Occasionally, they'll have children of their own that will be aasimars, but that's incredibly rare. There's probably, on the entire continent, maybe a couple of thousand. Maybe just 1,000 or so.
Okay.
Well, what you would know of them is that they tend to be very well placed and powerful because they don't seem to be born like into just any old commoner family. They tend to be born into noble families.
I'd like to also remind everybody that I really badly failed my check, so I still have no idea that this is an aasimar.
But we all do.
I don't know that actually anybody made a check. I would say it's actually sort of obvious. Aasimar are always, they look vaguely human, but they're always sort of marked out differently somehow. So you might confuse her for a tiefling, but you would know the tieflings have horns, and she doesn't have horns.
Hmm.
So the angelic wings and black eyes probably are enough to clue you in that she's similar, at least, to an aasimar.
Okay. So yes,
I'm just wondering if you're feeling a little soft for this creature, since she is one of your kin.
T-Hole, make no mistake, I do recognize that it is not often I come in contact with others of my lineage, but still, I do not necessarily consider anybody to be family simply because of any kind of racial relation or distinction. I judge those or others by their actions and deeds, not by whether or not we share some ancestral blood.
And from her body, you begin to hear softly a muttering coming from through the gag you put on her.
I point my pistol at her.
Zarius will walk over to her.
Yeah, Lucirosi will as well.
You see her eyes are open.
Do they seem like the same crazed eyes that we saw or at least I saw while I was grappling her? or do they seem to be more focused?
Because they're sort of coal black, it's hard to get a sense of how crazy they are or not. I mean, they are somewhat unnerving,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't necessarily get a sense one way or another as to whether or not she's calmer than she was before. She wasn't actually all that uncalm before, hence the sort of controlled muttering.
Mm-hmm.
She was just fighting while calm.
So I'll speak up to her then. Do you understand the situation you are in?
She's still gagged, but you can hear her muttering.
You can nod your head.
She is not nodding her head.
It seems whatever force has corrupted her or taken hold of her is still active.
I like I'm gonna take a walk around her and kind of just give her like a solid kind of look. I can tell that her eyes are following me as I'm like walking in circles around her. What are you looking at? Do you like what you see? I've never dated an aasimar before, but you can be the first.
She
I believe
shifts.
your perspective is perhaps skewed.
She shifts so that she's now sitting up, but she's not reacting to your words. She's continuing to say something, but it's incomprehensible through the gag.
Maybe she's saying that saying again. Do you want to see?
I am curious to see what she is saying, but words can have power. So can any of you with control over magic and the arcane counter or protect us if we lower the gag to hear what she might be saying?
Zarius will kneel down in front of her actually and say, if you try anything, it will be your doom.
Kajika can. He's got a pistol right at her head.
I'll grab at the
That's protection we have.
I'll grab at the gag and pull it away.
As you pull it away, you hear her say, "The demons do come, the demons do come. The balance one man has brought is undone. Ad domum ad astra houses them. Or is it a ship? I think it's a ship. A rudderless ship has carried them forth and taken them all directly to court."
Does T Hall recognize this saying as anything like? Has he heard it somewhere?
No.
It's like a children's book.
No, this just seems to be straight from her.
Do any of those names ring any bells for anyone?
Anybody? Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anyone here speak High Imperial?
I do, actually.
Goblin.
None of what she said is a name, but ad domum ad astra. She said ad domum ad astra houses them, or is it a ship? Ad domum ad astra means the house in the stars.
So this might be metagaming, but would Lucerosi or anybody else know about that creation myth regarding all of that? Because I think I remember that in some of the materials.
I mean, T-Hole would definitely know the story in general terms. Zarius and Kajiko might, but since they sort of grew up in different cultures, they might have different creation myths.
Mm-hmm. Well, Lucerosi would at least say she's speaking something in high. I think that was High Imperial. Something about the ship in the stars.
Ship in the stars.
So T-Hole, you would know, and I'll fill other people in quickly. Originally, the entire world was, there was this Titan who was traveling through the chaos in a crystal ship. When he died, he sort of purposefully gave up his own life to create the multiverse. And the multiverse is housed in what was his ship, in a giant crystal sphere that is floating in the chaos.
So then demons get on the ship and then into the multiverse?
Demons actually come from... there are creatures that were formed in the chaos that came inside. They made the demons specifically to try to destroy the universe. Basically, they captured Celestials and corrupted them and turned them into demons. But since then, various creatures have been corrupted and turned into demons. The core of them, the most powerful ones, were at some point in time angels, basically. And she looks up at the sky and says, "Worse awaits us all. That which is worse exists in the evil of the utter dark. Evil itself shines like hope when you spy those that lie outside the crystal globe. Demons scream, but their threat looms small, for true horrors ride along that arc. Madness rides the star winds, claws and teeth sharpened on eons of corpses, dripping death astride a swarm of wings from night-black ruins and buried temples of the eternal dark. Crypta Eternitatis, the echo of Asheros calls for his champion. The giant stands in his light, absorbing the reflection of the flames of creation. The reflection, deflection, infection, deception. Life as we know it is a deception. Fate plays its game again against itself and deals its cards. 4 of Pentacles, the devil in red. Does he hold the chain or is he at its end? 8 of Cups, the blessed fool of the mountains. His idiocy belies his true intelligence. Ace of Cups, strength who grapples with the lion, its strength turned against its sin. 4 of Swords, the Hierophant, guards the tomb of the dead for the gods who fled our sphere. 2 of Wands, the emperor who warred with time and lost and won. Who is left to remember the emperor when he never existed? What you think of as life is a deception. The faithful have already been claimed, taken, and saved. You are ours.
What? I've always existed. How dare you? How dare you mock me? Kajika just pulled the trigger.
Quiet, old fool. You are obviously the fool in the mountains.
This could all just be the ravings of lunacy or the corruption. But after she finishes that, does she just repeat it, or is she silent? Or
now she's silent. She's muttering something, but it's too low to make out words.
Lunacy, but it is very specific.
Yes, there were some interesting kernels within her words.
Can I so I'd like to try to see so I'm quite interested, and I want to know if she's genius or just nuts. Because it's kind of T-Hole's jam right now.
Thought you were saving her from T-Hole. Oh, she's dead. Give me an insight check, T-Hole. I mean, obviously she knows you're the Emperor, so she must be a genius.
Well, she did at least recognize my empire, and my emperorship. So,
I mean, she seems clearly insane, but other than that, genius.
Luciosi's gonna kneel down next to her and say, "Do you know about the tainted water in the town near her?"
She looks over at you and stares and tilts her head. The water was brought by chaos.
And how do we fight back the chaos?
You must defeat those that tainted the water.
And where are they?
They are not here.
And who are they?
My wards keep them at bay. They are the servants of the chaos. They are the ones who ultimately will unmake the world.
What happened to the people in that house?
Are you pointing at the house here?
Yes.
She looks at you now and says, "This is my home."
Yeah, and Luciosi's gonna look at T-Hole too, and he's gonna like, "What people? There are no people in there. I checked. There's no people."
I thought there was like blood and feces.
Yeah, but no people.
Why was there blood and feces all in your house? Were you having a party?
No, parties are no longer relevant. Death is coming for us all in time. Perhaps the cards of the game will save us, but it doesn't seem likely.
Which game?
The game that fate plays with us all.
What hand have you been dealt?
I have no cards. I am merely alive. But life is a deception.
Child, how did you become like this?
I have always been like this. From the moment I was born, I was alive, and I was doomed. As are we all.
Yes, but you changed recently.
Have I? Perhaps my eyes have been opened for the first time, only to realize that there's nothing to see, nothing that anyone would want to see.
How long ago have your eyes been opened?
Possibly many months or years, or decades, centuries. Who's to say?
What has opened them?
The encroaching darkness has filled my vision with nothing but night. But even in night, you can sometimes feel fear. I wish I could feel fear.
How about...
Give me till morning.
Sorry, what were you saying, Teal?
How about love?
Love is an illusion. The faithful were claimed, taken, and saved. Didn't you hear? We are theirs. You are ours. There is no love.
Yeah, Lucios is going to look at T-Hole with a quizzical look and be like, "What are you asking? Let's stay on point, T-Hole. Come on. We have things that we need to discover."
You can't blame an old man for trying.
Really,
Just slip her
T-Hole?
in-
Now?
Just slip her a note. Do you like me? Yes, no. Check, check.
Did you kill the hobgoblins?
The hobgoblins were like you.
And did you kill them? Did you slit their throats?
Well, I needed the blood for the protective runes. And they are servants of the chaos. They don't know it, but they came. And when they saw I was not of the chaos, they drew their silly guns and fired, thinking that I was just a crazy woman in the wilderness. Perhaps I am. Perhaps I am.
Child, these runes, if they were used in the town, would that keep back the chaos that has tainted the water?
Not now that the chaos is here. It is already in the water. You can keep evil out. You can keep chaos out. But you can't simply remove it once you've let it into your heart. It will always be there.
Well, unfortunately, the miracles that Asheros has bestowed upon me do not allow me to cure the insane or remove corruption from those that are tainted by it. I
Tell
don't
us.
know.
We must know one thing. Did you kill the villagers in the forest?
The villagers' fate was sealed when they left the village. They should have known this. I told them this. I told them not to venture out this way, but they took it as if I were threatening them. The
This does
villagers
not
have
answer my
hounded
question.
me.
Isn't it obvious?
Not any longer.
What killed the villagers?
The darkness killed the villagers.
The darkness through your hand?
Would it matter if it were through my hand? The darkness is all around us now.
It would matter for your life.
Life is a deception.
So I've heard.
Zarius, I don't know that there is any hope of restoring this woman. It may be more merciful to put her out of her misery.
Is there another in these woods?
There are many in the wilderness.
Others like you?
She pauses to think about that. Perhaps not. Perhaps I am the only one like me.
Darius will stand up and just nod. Do as you will.
I don't know if there's anything we can do to save this woman. It's clear that she is the one that killed the hobgoblins and the villagers. And I don't know that she has any answer for us in terms of how to treat the situation with the well in town.
Did she answer who the people who started the people who poisoned the well?
She said it
She
was
said
the chaos.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was that. Do you know who or what exactly poisoned the well? If we're going to unpoison the well, we will need to know or find them, or have a method of finding them. Do you know how to sense chaos?
A certain degree of darkness exists in us all. You must find the one that darkened the hearts of the villagers. It is their own darkness, their own evil, their own propensity to chaos. That is what poisons their well.
What would you have them do?
I would have them do nothing. The worst case is they drink the well water and they die, and their souls are taken and ground and used by the things that hide in the dark. But their lives are meaningless, for life is a deception. The faithful have already been claimed, taken, and saved.
Yes,
We-
so I heard.
We are what remains. We are meaningless.
Would you fight back the chaos?
I have no role in fighting back the chaos. I do not think it possible.
Perhaps you should think bigger than yourself.
There is no reasoning with her. She's clearly nuts.
She does not look like nuts.
There's something off about her. Whether it's insanity or truth that has just overwhelmed her ability to comprehend it, corruption. Do not know if there's anything that we can do to save this woman. Nor do I think she offers anything that could be useful in terms of dealing with the situation in town.
Well, she does bring up a good point. If the darkness, which means there's something out here, is out to get us all, and this area specifically is warded to prevent the darkness, then leaving this area, especially probably at nighttime, could be a risk. And also, if she wasn't around and the wards went out, then that also might pose a risk.
And she looks over at T-Hole and says, "You need not fear the darkness. Not now, anyway. The darkness is in your heart. If you walk with light in your heart, you would be safe."
So, accept Asheros as your savior, T-Hole. And the Jersey grins at that.
What do you mean? Life is a deception.
I disagree with that understanding of life. Anyways, those wards are there for a reason, and it may be that it's tied to her life force, but I do not think that is... I don't know if delaying what we intend to do would be the merciful route, especially in her current state.
And she begins to repeat her list of her statement about fate playing its game and dealing cards. And then goes to 4 of Pentacles, 8 of Cups, Ace of Cups, 4 of Swords, 2 of Wands, the Seraph discarded. Then she closes her eyes and lays back down.
Thank
She then
God
just
T-Hole
begins
has
to-
keen mind.
Yeah, thank goodness.
You should write that down.
I've already memorized it.
She then begins to repeat over and over the original phrase you heard her saying. What you think of as life is a deception. The faithful have already been claimed, taken, and saved. You are ours.
Ugh. She's like a broken record.
Kajika, your weapon, would it be quick and clean?
It'll be necessary. Long overdue.
All right. Well, Lucerosi will kind of nod, giving his approval.
Wait, one more thing before we do it. I'm gonna reach down and touch her hand.
I'm glad you followed that up with Dan.
And
I just had to see what
I
it
gotta
felt like.
cop that last feel. I just gotta.
I'm gonna cast Identify to see if I can ascertain if there is anything that's like spells or anything that's affecting her.
That's interesting.
Let me look up the text of Identify real fast.
I don't think I've ever.
If you instead touch a creature throughout the casting, you learn what spells, if any, are currently affecting it.
So you don't get the sense that there are any spells affecting her per se. You do get a sense of almost like almost as if there's a negative space around her, particularly around her head. It's as if you can feel currents of necrotic energy moving.
Does that?
But
let
it's
you-
not a particular spell. It's just raw energy.
Does it kind of remind me of the feeling of Carol Hoole or Gruzza when they died?
No, this is actually very different than that. That actually almost felt evil. This feels almost like you're sensing the palpable presence of a vacuum, of an absence of everything.
Would you get the sense that like a remove curse would get rid of it?
Give me an Arcana check.
I'll let you do that. Yeah.
I know a couple things about magic.
A
You get the sense that it might take something more powerful than remove curse.
like
She needs a little more help than a remove curse. But she's a vacuum. She is absent of pretty much everything, which makes sense given her state.
So as I thought, her condition is, it would be barbaric to allow her to remain in this condition.
Yes. Well, good night, princess. T-Hole gets up and he looks down, looks away.
Yeah, Zarius will take a step back.
It's all yours, Kajika.
All right.
And the winds swirl around, but other than that, it's utterly silent where you are as Kajika steps forward.
In the name of Setamadodi, given to the Grammaton monks, keepers of the theocracy's order, I pronounce your judgment and subsequent combustion, and then I fire.
And the bullet passes through her head, tearing a hole on the far side. And the sound of the shot rings through the hills around you. And she falls over quite dead.
Executed in full. And then I begin to set her body on fire.
Well,
I was curious as to whether or not this void was still present, but I guess we will have to find another.
unable to beat Kajika to the punch with setting her on fire and doing his thing, Lucirosi will begin prayer and whatever would pass for Astros's last rites to kind of help her hope that in death the corruption might be removed, and in the light of Ashros her soul sanctified and able to join with his light.
I just ask that Osiris guide her soul now that she has no body.
I'm just gonna walk away.
Where are we staying?
I'm gonna go. I want to go check out where the runes were that I ascertained were the wards, and I want to see if they're still there.
The ones in the circle, yes, they're all still there.
Okay.
Whether you were looking in the circle or in the house, it's all still there.
Okay.
Well, the runes are still there, but are they active? I think is what T-Hole is asking.
Yeah, are they still glowing or?
Well, they weren't glowing previously. By now, the detect magic you had up during the fight is gone.
Yeah.
But that might tell you if they were emanating some power.
Yeah, I could use a second level spell slots to do it, but it seems
you could cast it as cast it as a ritual.
Okay. So I guess I'll do that.
So yes, you get the sense that the runes in the house and in the circle are still active for whatever it is they're doing.
Okay. So
still abjuration magic?
Actually, yes. Actually, give me a perception check. T-Hole. That's probably enough. You actually, inside the house, you detect there is something magical also on the floor.
Ooh. So like you see like T-Hole like kind of like muttering, and then he kind of like perks up. He's like, and he like walks. He like kind of like hurries because he's a sucker for magical items.
Right. There's the remains of a table. It's something coming from underneath the table. There are no other runes on the floor, so you're not sure if it's maybe there was a separate rune written on the floor or not.
All right, so
you'd have to dig through this whatever's here, which appears to mostly be wood.
Underneath the table?
Yeah, the table's ruined, so it's basically smashed up on the floor.
So I guess I will do that. I'll like start haphazardly, like just like throwing.
Okay, give me a dexterity save.
I'm good at this.
So as you're digging down, a little bit of like blood and shit gets on your hand, but you do find there is a magical pearl on the ground there.
Ooh. So I'm gonna pick it up and like take a look at it.
It's in a silver clasp. It's not on a chain, but it appears as though the clasp itself was designed to be hooked up to a chain. The chain is nowhere to be seen, but the pearl inside the clasp is clearly magical.
Cool. Well, I've taken a lot of magic items. I think I know somebody who would appreciate this. So then I walk out and be like, Kajika, do you like magic items?
Where'd you get it from?
Underneath a pile of wood in the broken table in the house. Do you want it? And like I have this like shit covered, like blood and shit covered like hand, and there's a pearl in the middle of it.
We'll pass on taking anything from that place.
Suit yourself. Zarius, Ushirosi, I feel like it's only fair. I have my own crown after all.
I'll examine it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm just gonna check. All right, so we're gonna stay here then for the night, because I think we need to get. I'm gonna get started with making that dwelling a bit more habitable. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I guess so.
Cool.
So examining the pearl, it's as I described it. Are you using magic to examine it?
No, I don't think I have anything prepared for it.
Okay. So looking at it, it's clearly valuable. You wouldn't necessarily know that this was magical, and T-hole may not be correct. Who knows?
I mean,
you're taking his word on it.
What does it do?
If you spent some time with it trying to make it work, you could figure it out, like a short rest.
I'll just wipe it off, find a bush, wipe it off, and then put it in a pocket.
Or if you give me 10 minutes alone with it, I can tell you what it is.
That's true. It is, I will say, 100 gold piece pearl. So it could be its own material component. Do you want to cast Identify on it?
Yeah, I would do it as a ritual.
So yeah, it's a pearl of power.
I assumed. I just wanted to make it difficult for him.
Meanwhile, while I'm cleaning out or doing the best I can to clean the area, I will be picking up all the gold and silver and copper that I find.
Okay. I mean, how thorough do you want to be to really like go over every inch of the place and get every coin out? Probably would take several hours because of all the crap in here.
Oh, I'm not trying to make this like nice or anything. I'm just trying to, get a couple of spots where we could maybe set our bedrolls and not be just,
Aren't our bedrolls
in feces
at the camp?
Yeah, bedrolls are probably at the camp for some of you. For anyone who is staying at the camp.
Oh yeah, I don't think I actually set up camp with anybody.
Right, you were going to say you were going to stay at inns, and they were going to stay at the camp.
I wasn't present.
So.
I was busy treating the sick people while everybody else made that camp outside.
So Lucirosi clears a spot big enough for his bedroll.
Within good distance of the fire, prime fire real estate.
Yeah. So as you're sort of digging through and picking up coins, you realize, like every time you move something, there's coins. There are thousands upon thousands of coins in this place. Most of them, to be fair, are copper,
Right.
but there are thousands and thousands of coins.
What did this witch do to garner such income?
Well, like I said, you did see in the opening pages of her journal, she said that she was for years an adventurer.
Yeah,
This is where she settled down after she was done with that.
that's fair. So that would be one thing that I would also be doing, once we set down for the night, is doing a little bit more closer reading of the journal.
Okay. It's probably going to take like 4 or 5 hours to get through the whole thing. So if you want to sleep, you're probably not going to be able to get through it all.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna sleep.
But that's your thing. Skipping sleep.
Yes, and I pay for it every single time.
So you read through some of it. She goes into a little more detail about that she was a sorcerer, and she adventured with a party for a long time, but she realized that it was dangerous, and really her tastes were much more simple than that. And she really just sort of wanted to settle down and lead a more or less rustic life. Later on in the journal, skipping over a bunch of the day-to-day stuff she was doing, she started to have visions. And the visions she felt were prophetic, but she was also afraid she was going insane, as the visions were always pretty dark. There was always end of the world visions. She also had visions where she describes almost picture perfectly the basically your whole party. She doesn't describe Daggerface at all, but she describes the rest of you, the rest of the 5 of you. And she sees you as being the one sort of point of hope that maybe things can be averted. But her visions are erratic, to say the least. And there are plenty of visions she has where other people come in and seem to be the hope. But it always seems as though over time she comes back to your group. There are a lot of references to cards and just descriptions of images that you can't really place. Like she'll talk about a man standing on a cliff singing into the wind with a small dog nipping at his heels. And you're not sure what that's in reference to. It doesn't seem to be part of a prophecy. In fact, if anything, it seems to be connected with the man from the mountains that you sort of guess might be Hellweir. But why would Hellweir have a dog nipping at his heels?
Maybe it's a donkey.
Yeah.
Maybe in comparison to Hellweir, it seemed more like a dog.
So let me just send you the coins that you find.
All right. And then also, before settling down for the evening, I might spend a few minutes just fiddling with the stone puzzle box that I picked up at some point along the adventure.
Give me an intelligence check.
This should be a hootenanny. Intelligence.
Yeah, you have no idea what the hell. If anything, it is more locked now that you've used it. You felt like you had loosened something before, but now it's just a solid mass.
Yeah, you got this stuck. You can't get them unstuck.
Oh no. Where's Colmar when he needs some grease?
I guess we're going to long rest, huh?
Yep. So is anybody else doing anything?
Nope.
I don't really have anything.
So you lay down and rest in the morning, or at least after 8 hours. You wake up thinking that the sun should be streaming through the window, but the light outside it's pretty overcast and gray. In fact, you would say it's unnaturally gray. Looking outside, you can't make out any position for the sun whatsoever, but it doesn't look like clouds above you. It just looks gray.
Like a smoke
And
or a fog?
it is just it's not a fog around you, but it is a solid uniform color of gray. So it doesn't necessarily even look like you would normally see in overcast skies. And everybody make a perception check.
Including myself?
No, because you're back in town. You wake up back at the camp, and obviously you're there alone. It's freezing cold, but nobody else is there. Zarius, you're the first one to notice that not only is the sky gray, but everything around you looks sort of drab and gray. The grass and trees seem to be alive, but even the ones that are evergreen look sort of grayish brown. I think we lost Tony. I think he was like, Gray, fuck this. I'm leaving. Hung up.
Is this disconcerting?
It is. It's unnerving to look at because everything is sort of unnaturally drab and cold.
I'm gonna throw up a detect magic.
So other than the stuff you would expect to see and like the runes on the walls in the house, it doesn't appear as though the environment is magical, but it is completely obvious to you that it is not natural, but it's not radiating any magic.
Do we get the effects of the full rest or not?
Yes, you get the effects of the rest.
So Lucirosi is gonna just kind of muse out loud. Perhaps what the witch was saying about the darkness coming wasn't metaphorical or insane.
In fact, you notice that inside the house, the colors are as vibrant as you might expect. There's not a lot in there that's super colorful, but it doesn't have the same unnerving effect as the outside of the house does.
Can I tell if the wards are still up?
Yes, the wards are definitely still up and working.
In apropos to nothing, does anybody want to share some of these coins with me? Because it's causing me to be carrying 123 pounds.
You don't want 123 pounds.
And there are way more coins you're leaving behind. Mostly copper.
Well, I'd love to help, but I only deal in gold. I'll happily carry 60 pounds of water, though. 200 pounds of food.
Have any of us ever seen anything similar to this? or heard about anything like this in the past?
Kajika, give me a history check.
Oh boy.
I'll give you the advantage on this one, but let me just whisper to you what it is, and you can tell them whatever you want. I don't know if this probably won't work. Hold on.
Oh, turns out my carrying capacity is well within this amount, so I'm good.
Do you have like bags for it though? You can't just
I have a backpack.
So you may still need some help. If all you have is a backpack, you could easily bust the seams of your backpack with 123 pounds of coins.
Maybe there's bags lying about.
Give me an investigation check.
Oh boy. Definitely all covered in feces.
So you're not able to find a bag. You do find a tarp that is covered in feces and blood. But you could, fold the corners up or drag it behind you.
I'll probably, let's see.
See, this is good because you guys have been like the most treasure-averse party I've ever had. There was so much treasure. I was like, well, they'll surely find this. Note, just walking right past that. Okay. Keep telling Kajika, like, there's a huge treasure pile in the swamp. Kajika's like, nah.
Not good.
So if I just limit myself to 1,000 copper, that reduces it by 20 pounds. So it's about 53 pounds of coins that I'm carrying.
All right, so I take a look outside and say, well, this looks familiar to what I've heard about the Shadowfell.
Shadowfell, what is that?
Some sort of dark plane of existence.
Damn internet.
I mean, you can make, everyone can make a intelligence check or arcana check. So, oddly, Kajika didn't actually have to make the arcana check because he sort of knows what the Shadowfell is. Sort of, like you know how your personal history is tied to the Shadowfell. But the rest of you would know that the Shadowfell is like there's two, in addition to the mundane world, there's two planes that are considered to be mirrors. One is the Feywild, which is like a brightly colored, life-intensive mirror of the mundane world. The Shadowfell is the reverse. It's a dark, death-inhabited mirror of the mundane world. And sometimes, like, this is where the Underdark really is in force. Most of the underground places in the mundane world aren't all that dangerous, but what people call the Underdark is the underground areas of this world, which are much bigger and much more dangerous. It's also supposed to be a plane that's pretty much every feature of the mundane world has its mirror here, but here you're much more likely to run into specters and undead, as most of the inhabitants of this plane are undead, at least on the surface of it.
Didn't we just get away from specters?
A long time ago.
Kurt has found a way to seek his revenge.
That's right.
So Lucia Rossi will be like, wait, I think I've heard of the Shadowfell before, but is this the Shadowfell coming into our world?
I do not believe that's how it works.
Lucia Rossi would know. Is it Lucia Rossi? Yeah, Lucia. You would know that sometimes it does happen that way. Sometimes you can cross through, just like you can walk into the fairy world. You can walk into the Shadowfell when portals open. It's incredibly rare. It's much more rare underground. That's how things cross back and forth between the Underdark and our world. But on the surface, it's incredibly rare for this to happen.
But look at the evidence. I mean, everything. This is not natural.
We should seek out T-Hole. Or not T-Hole, sorry, Hellweir.
Rang?
I'm fucking always mixing up names, man. I'm terrible at it.
I am concerned if we're here in the Shadowfell. I mean, this is not only is this a rare occurrence to find a way to cross over, but how would we have crossed, and how can we return?
We seek another portal.
I don't remember crossing into a portal. Do any of you?
Well, is it still brightly colored inside the house?
Relatively, yes.
Perhaps the house itself is safe. As long as we don't leave the house, we won't leave this plane.
But then how long will we need to wait?
As long as we have a good house.
Is there a way to see from the house the clearing with the runes?
Yes, you can. I mean, the vegetation in this area isn't that high. Mostly it's bushes with an occasional tree. So you can see the hill and the clearing clearly from where you are next to the house.
Does it appear any different?
No. I mean, you didn't see it in the daylight before, but it appears like as you would expect.
Perhaps whatever is happening here, maybe this is what happened to the Aasimar.
That's possible.
And I don't know.
We can either stay or find out, or try to make it back.
So just briefly, what is T-Hole doing after, or T-Hole, now I'm doing it. What is Hellweir doing after Hellweir wakes up?
I would be packing up the camp, and then pretty much like when it's all loaded, I'd probably walk over to the inn and try and find Arseface.
So you're able to find his room, and he is also packing his things up.
Say, good, we're going.
Is everyone back?
No, haven't seen them yet.
Should we be concerned?
No. They can look after themselves.
Clearly we can't.
Daggerface is like, are they trapped on another plane of existence, never to be seen again? So Daggerface he's ready to follow you.
Cool. Yeah, I just get him to load up the donkey. I know that might take another hour, and then I guess we just start marching through town, and then through the other side.
So which way are you going?
Towards wherever we're meant to be going.
Okay, so you're leaving for Montvert.
Yeah.
Okay. I was not expecting that, but...
Wait, what? You're just leaving for Montvert without
Yeah, you can catch up on the road. It's like one road. It's like one road through, right?
Not entirely.
Oh, okay.
There are branching roads that all sort of connect and reconnect.
Also, without you, we could get lost.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If there's one road, it would be fine, but there's not. Okay. Well, I'd be like, all right, well, look after this shit, and I'll and then I would start walking out to try and find you guys. I would ask somebody where the villagers went, and start following tracks, and I just leave him with the donkey and all the gear.
So, you start to lead him out of town and then stop and decide, maybe I should go.
Yeah.
See if I can find him.
Yeah, maybe they are useless.
So Daggerface starts to lead the donkey back towards the town and says he'll meet you at the inn.
Yeah, makes sense.
Give me a survival check. I mean, you know the direction they were headed off in. So you're more or less it's pretty easy for you to follow the trail that you imagine they were on. So many people tromped through these hills that it would be a little difficult to say these were their tracks, but there are a lot of tracks all going in the same direction.
Yeah.
As you're walking, after a couple of 2 or 3 hours, you come to a very large clearing where there are lots and lots of bodies. They are laid all about in various positions. There does seem to be kind of like a central mass of them, but they're, pointed in every possible direction at this point. You also notice that as you get up to it, the sky and the world in front of you begins to look very drab and gray, unnaturally so. Whereas behind you, the grass is still kind of greenish. The sky is blue and clear. It slowly fades into a gray as you approach this clearing, and when you get beyond it, the sky looks completely gray. Even behind you, turning around, the sky really looks gray down to the horizon. Moving back and forth a little bit just to test it, you see that the further you go back towards the town, the blue sky seems to return.
Right.
But continuing on, you come up over the top of a hill, and below you see a cabin and a circle of stone that stands on a nearby hill. And around the cabin, you can see them moving, looking somewhat confused.
Great. I would just start walking towards them, like, now where the hell were you? Obviously here.
You see the smoking remains of a body. Skeletal wings, burned, are spread out on either side of it.
Good. You killed the elf fairy as well. Good work. So what are you doing here?
Zarius is preparing spells.
T-Hole just doesn't care.
You're waiting for you to show up.
It's so
Hell weird.
So Hoer just walked up.
Yeah. It's like, good work, you killed an elf fairy.
What?
Is there a way to send message directly to somebody in this? Or I have no idea how to do that.
Yeah, if you type in /W and then space and then start to type their character name, it'll give you like a list of characters you can send messages to. Or GM to send it to me.
And then after that, just keep typing.
Yeah, then a space after the name, then just type whatever message you want, then hit enter.
So I'm guessing you're all lost.
How have you crossed over?
I just followed your tracks. You don't seem to cover them very well.
Well, we weren't really trying either.
Oh, so we can just walk out of here. That's great news.
Yes. Did you kill all those people back there?
Yeah, they killed themselves.
Well, pretty sure the witch killed them. Or what the townspeople called the witch, anyways.
They were warned.
So she says.
Good. Left mouths to feed, I guess.
How was your evening? Where's Daggerface?
He's left at the inn. He seems to be a bit of a drunk.
Well, things happen when you take a full dagger to the face.
True. There were these hooded figures in the pub or whatever in the inn. They didn't seem to be minors, so I harassed them, and then I left.
I would expect no better. If I wasn't there to harass them, it had to be somebody, right?
Yes.
So while I appreciate this conversation and reunion, we still are in quite a serious situation. Perhaps we would best be attempting to figure out what is going on and getting out.
What do you mean? He just walked right in. We could just go walk right out.
Well, I hope it's as simple as that. But that's also concerning if it's that easy. It's also just as easy for the creatures of this place to walk out with us.
What creatures? I only see something dead and a bunch of dead people.
So, Helweir, have you heard of the Shadowfell?
Have I heard of the Shadowfell?
I'm sure you've heard the word. Give me an Arcana check. Not other than like it's like a different plane or something.
I couldn't care less. Whatever it is.
Creatures of darkness and corruption exist
Like-
all over this place.
Like the fairies back at the city.
No. Like specters and shades and other things that would love to rip the living apart.
Like those ghosts we saw on that island.
Yes.
Probably much worse as well.
Speaking of things that rip living things apart, this place has more undead in it, right?
Yes.
Well, I wonder how all those bodies that we passed were in. However, I know you just saw them, but we could pose a problem if we're trying to go back. We might run into something that wasn't that they might be more trouble than they were when we passed them the first time.
It looked pretty dead to me.
Yes. Well, were you in the was the world gray when you were by them?
It was turning gray.
Yes. Well, if it moves just a little bit, if it's a little bit further, if it eclipses it a bit more, we just might be in trouble.
You're starting to sound crazy. Let's just leave.
Well, you don't know the half of what we heard with this one chick.
More crazy than usual.
So let's leave, but let's be cautious. Hopefully we can get back.
Yes, there may be a boar or something around.
Okay.
Well, Hellweir, lead the way.
Just march directly back in the direction which I came from.
So you retrace your steps. You all come back to the clearing where previously there was a pentagram, but you dismantled it. As you begin to cross through the pentagram, you begin to see the sky in front of you does look blue at the horizon. But as you sort of walk across the entire area where the pentagram was, it's almost like lifting up the lid over the top of a globe as the blue begins to rise up over the tops of your heads. As you step out the other side of where the pentagram was, it looks to be blue and sunny and quite a bit warmer than it was on the other side of the pentagram.
Would we make this connection with the pentagram?
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of bodies here. Like, you didn't burn or bury them all. So, yeah, you're aware that that's exactly where this was. And you can still see the blood on the ground where the thing was drawn. So you're pretty much aware that it's as you're walking through it, you can see the change in the sky. On the other side, you also see the trees and grass appears to be green and bright again. And when you reach the other side and turn around, the sky behind you is just as blue. The grass and plant life looks fine.
It is best we remove these bodies, otherwise those simpletons are gonna want to collect them.
Yes. Elware, you're right for once. Or for twice.
But is it?
Hate to have the townsfolk stumble into the Shadowfell on accident.
We might toughen them up.
Not while they're sick from poisoned water. Anyways, are we even sure that is getting rid of these, like burying these bodies and destroying this pentagram even further is going to eliminate whatever portal to the Shadowfell there might be?
Most likely not, but it'll stop simpletons from walking through it.
Why don't we let the villagers take care of their own dead?
Yes. Kajika makes a good point.
Sure, let him walk through.
I was going to kick one of the corpses and just continue walking.
I do not think that's a good idea. I think if we're here now, we need to try and take care of this matter now. The longer that this portal remains open, the more likely something dangerous can pass through.
Well, is there not necessarily rhyme or reason sometimes for these things? Like if there's no rhyme or reason for how these portals open, how do we have any hope to close it?
Yes. I do not think we are going to be coming back here anytime soon.
That's not the point. We can't just allow something like this to exist if we have an opportunity to close it. I've never heard of something like this so easily accessible from the surface. And there are many dangers that would not only be a threat to this town, but more substantial threats that could come through.
Yeah, you never know who might come walking through one of them portals.
Like us. What if we are not the only ones?
I didn't see anything of danger inside the portal anyway. Other than a bit of grey sky. That doesn't hurt anyone.
Do you have knowledge of how to close these that we do not?
No, but it seems linked to these bodies in this pentagram, doesn't it? This is the point where it receded. And it seems to be, Helwer, you said that this is where you entered from it?
Yes. Well, I just followed the tracks. I didn't look up. I looked down.
Surely you would have noticed the change.
I didn't feel any different.
But your surroundings...
It did not affect your footprints.
So, when you're tracking, you literally just look at the ground and nothing else?
It's called tracking, not looking.
All right, we're wasting time. We need to deal with this.
Now,
We have broken the circle. If it were tied into it, then it should be broken.
Yes, but we only moved the bodies. Perhaps that wasn't enough. Perhaps there's something else connecting the energies still to this spot. I am no expert in the arcane or the Shadowfell, but I know that this is a problem that we need to address.
Why did it only appear overnight?
That is a question I have as well.
Does T-Hole know if there's have any knowledge if there's a way to close portals to
Me can make an Arcana check.
While he's thinking, Zarius is going to attempt to see if there's like a sort of radius to it, I guess, like an edge, if he can kind of roughly track where that's at.
Yeah, I'm walking off to either side of where the pentagram was. You get the sense that although the track does lead through where the pentagram was, the pentagram merely marks the boundary of a much larger circle. So even outside the pentagram, if you march towards the witch's hut, you would enter this space again.
Just like, because we notice it whenever we kind of cross over, right?
Right.
So if I just like notice that spot and like try to move tangent to it to try and find the outside of it, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, you suspect you're not sure it's like an exact sphere or anything, but you suspect that the boundary of this thing is really big. Like it could be a sphere with a circumference of several miles. But T-Hole, you would know if this is, in a sense, it sort of depends. When these things form naturally, they're very unstable. They frequently wink out on their own. Use of magic in the area can destabilize them and make them disappear. Use of magic like Dispel Magic on a natural one almost certainly would make it disappear. But sometimes people do try to create these things artificially. You've probably never encountered an artificial one before, but it would be somewhat harder to dispel it if it was purposefully built here.
Well, I was not gifted with the ability to dispel magic.
There may be more of these circles that are anchoring it in place. If we disrupt them all, perhaps it will destabilize.
That's possible.
But then, what direction do we start in?
One. You have a map? Do we have a map?
Does anybody's equipment list have map written on it?
I know mine doesn't.
No.
No.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be in my elf ear pouch. So.
You have your general knowledge of the geography of the continent, but I mean, it wouldn't be specific to this region.
I think it's a waste of time trying to close this. Probably just close out on its own.
You can shut portals in your own free time. At the moment, we're on somebody else's watch.
No, but think about this. The witch had mentioned something about the darkness falling or coming down, and this seems to meet exactly what she was saying. And I don't think it's a coincidence that this pentagram and these bodies are here, and it's at the exact edge of where this portal lies. I cannot. I mean,
Make a mark. You can deal with it later. I'll just keep walking.
do you seriously not understand the danger that this represents?
I just ignore you and keep walking.
Zarius, please tell me that you understand.
Comprehend the possible danger, but I do not see how we could close it
Yes.
without perhaps circling the entire radius.
I mean, we can't just allow it to stay as it is.
What are we
At the
going
very
to
least,
do?
at the very least, we need to let the authorities know that this is here.
I mean, that's fine. That doesn't involve poking through the Underdark trying to find more pentagrams. That actually brings us back to the way that we should go, which is away from here. Since town's the opposite way. I don't think it's wise to poke around through the Shadowfell, looking for pentagrams or looking for a way to try to dispel this.
No, I'm not saying that we look within the Shadowfell. We don't want to close the portal while we're inside. But still, this is...
If you know of somebody I can send a message to, I have it within my power.
How would that work?
If there's anyone in this world that might be able to deal with this, I could send them a message.
You do realize the world is pretty big.
And we've seen very little. Perhaps you know someone with the expertise.
Kurt, based on where we are, is there anybody that would be close by that Lucirosi might know that he would feel confident if a message were to get to them that they would potentially know how to handle this?
There are plenty of people you would know who could handle this. None of them would be super close by. I guess it depends on like how close a like. What I would suggest is this. I mean, this would be my thought if I were Lucirosi. So I think he would probably have the same thought. That if you could get in touch with someone like Cato, he's probably powerful enough to get in touch with somebody and probably knows more people.
That's what I was thinking.
It'll be a bit of a trek for anybody to get out here to close this thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I was hoping you were just going to tell the authorities in town.
Yes, the town where everybody is poisoned.
Right. Should feel like, oh, by the way, there's a portal to Zombieland right over there. So, and then cut to the town on fire, people screaming in the streets. But yeah, Cato would almost certainly, you figure, know somebody who, even if it's knows somebody who knows somebody, who could dispatch church officials to this region.
That's what I was thinking as well. Okay, so Lucirosi would look back to Zarius and say, yes, there's somebody that I know who I trust that I would be confident could direct a response to this situation. So how would this message work?
Let me look it up. I could do this. Am I familiar with this person?
You would not be familiar with this person.
Perhaps you could draw a picture. Or describe him in great detail.
I don't know if that would make you familiar.
Do you know what his genitalia look like? It's familiarity.
Can you read my mind?
I mean, if you spend an action point, I would let you send it to somebody else is familiar with.
Okay, cool. I could do that.
Okay.
About 25 words. Make them count.
So, Cato Agrippa is the person that we're sending it to.
In fact, Zarius will pull out some parchment and a pen, basically. Write it down as he begins to unwind a copper wire.
All right. Do I know the name? Do we know the name of the town that we're near?
Yeah, it's Timbercrest. And you know you're northwest of the town.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 19, 20, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Nice! Boom! All right.
Oh, okay. In here, got it. So basically, I'll roll that up and wrap the copper wire around it, and then cast the spell. And the paper will sort of like fizzle away. And then I guess appear wherever this person is.
Okay.
We may wait for a moment. He may reply.
I am confident in Kato's ability to handle this task.
You're muted, Kurt.
So, Zarius, you hear in your head a reply does come back. It's in a voice you were not familiar with, but you assume it's this Cato fella saying, I will dispatch people at once to investigate this. I hope you're not anywhere near there. The Shadowfell is a very dangerous place.
He shows concern for you. We should leave.
I agree. He is a competent man and a trusted friend. All right. I think we need to stop in town to see about the situation with the well. It may be linked to this. I'm not sure, but I think that it would be worthwhile to at least check once more before we move on. At least to see if the situation has worsened much.
Aye. Let's do that.
So you make your way back to town. You see your donkey and cart are parked outside the inn, of at least the larger of the inns in the town.
Is Daggerface with the donkey?
No, the donkey is tied off, but you don't see him there.
Does the town just seem empty?
No, there are people milling about. Everyone seems pretty somber, but you do see people in the streets.
So, can walk in. I'll walk into the inn.
Yeah, one older man makes his way over to you and says, "Were you out there last night? Did you see any of our people? A number of men went to confront the witch and the hobgoblins, but so far none has returned."
Nor will they. They're all dead.
His head drops at hearing that. All of them? I had hoped. I had hoped. And he begins to weep.
Zarius limps in. Some of them may be out there, but it is not recommended that anyone else go. And he goes to a table, just sits.
I'll pat him. I'm afraid so. They went against their own better judgment. They were heroes, or at least they died having the town think they were.
Did they kill the witch then? Is the plague at least lifted?
The witch is dead.
Oh, thank the gods.
At
least there is that.
Your curse is still here.
At least that's what we came to see if it was gone yet. How is the water?
We should go and check it. I have not had any in days.
I can tell. Let's go.
I'm sorry, sir. Can you show us to the leader of the town? Who is it that is in charge?
Well, the town burghers all passed away. It's not entirely clear who is the leader of the town, but I can take you to Kenna. She is the one most of us follow.
Okay. I think that would be wise, but wait, where is Daggerface here?
Daggerface is not in the inn. At least not in the downstairs part of the inn that you can see.
How where did you leave Daggerface?
I left him at an inn,
This one?
This one.
probably.
Yeah.
Yes. And I start feeding Sally. He probably died too.
You realize he is the key to the initial quest that we have been charged with by Lokazika.
Maybe if we didn't fuck around with that portal, we would have got here faster.
Well, we do need to find Daggerface.
I'm gonna go start looking for it.
Yeah, let's ask the bartender. Is the man with the scarred face still present?
Oh, yeah, him. Oh. He was in here a while ago, but as soon as the shop started to open, he asked me to let him know, so I told him, and he got up and wandered out.
Where are the shops?
Oh, they're all over the town, so I'm not sure what shop he was going to.
Not
He
to
had
prepare the spell.
he had a- Before you leave, he had a rather large breakfast and left without paying for it. I tried to stop him, but he just stared at me with that hideous face, then kept walking.
How much was his meal?
His that's
It was 3 copper.
Here
I could arrest
is
2.5 people with that money.
here is 5 copper for your trouble.
Oh, thanks. He turned left as he went out the door, if that helps you.
Yep. Start heading that way.
You guys go and find Daggerface. I'm going to go with this man to speak with Kenna.
All right, we'll go get him.
So you wander off with this old man. And he takes you back to what was the town hall where they're essentially housing the sick now. Leading you inside, he takes you up to a dwarven woman. This is Kenna. And she turns. Oh, you're the ones who put the houses out last night. That was good work. We didn't have the manpower left, the strength to tend to that fire without your help. We owe you a lot.
Oh no, do not worry about it. But there is, unfortunately, I'm the bearer of bad news.
Oh no, what's that?
There is significant danger close to the town, and given the situation with the well, I think that, and combined with the creatures that cause the fires, I think it is in your best interest to evacuate with those who are still here.
There are hundreds of people to evacuate, and I don't know how we're going to do this with all the people who are ill. Can you help us in some way to get the people out of here? And where should we go?
So, what would Lucirosi recommend in terms of what's close to here?
I mean, the closest place that they could. You came this way before, so you're aware that there are towns dotted around.
Mhm.
But if it's hundreds of people, maybe the best place would be Watchtower, because that's one day's travel away.
Yeah, that's
and
what I was
it's
gonna
certainly
say.
big enough to accommodate them.
Hmm. So I can provide you with some healing. I can try to heal the sick as best I can. I am also happy to provide you with funds to help with the journey.
Well, that would be appreciated. I don't know that we need money so much. I suppose it would help when we find wherever it is we're going. We'll need lodging.
Yes, I think probably your best bet would be to head to Watchtower.
What is the nature of this threat that's forcing us to leave? People are going to want to know.
Does Lucirosi get the sense that this is information that he just should freely provide?
I mean, give me an insight check.
Okay.
So you would, from talking to her for a minute, you would guess she seems sort of level-headed enough that she could probably handle it. But from what you heard from the other people of the town, a lot of them are very highly superstitious. A number of them are obstinate. They are somewhat rash, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
So she might be able to handle it, but you don't know that other people would be able to handle it.
Okay. So I would say, Kenna, can we speak in private for a moment?
Of course. She leads you into what was probably someone's office at the time. There's a week's worth of dust in it, so it doesn't look like it's currently being used.
And then Lucirosi would just kind of try to break it to her as calmly as possible and say, so my companions and I have discovered a large portal to the Shadowfell.
I don't know what that is. Is that bad?
Yes. It is likely the source of the poison in the well and the creatures that cause the fires. And if you stay here, you will risk more such creatures and possibly worse coming and threatening the villagers.
Is there no way we can fight these creatures to save the well in the town?
Not that I am aware, but I have sent for assistance, and they will be coming, but it will take time. In the meantime, I think, given the situation, it would be best to head to Watchtower until this situation can be dealt with. Unfortunately, myself and my companions do not have the resources that we need to handle things.
Well, you've done so much for us already, but can you accompany us to Watchtower to make sure we get there safely?
I will speak with my companions about the matter. Hopefully they will see reason.
How will you band?
So
but I must warn you, my companions, though I believe most times their hearts are in the right place, currently they may be obstinate or unwilling to assist.
Oh, well, I still will take your counsel, and it may take some time for us to evacuate this place. And I'm not sure I'll be able to convince everyone to leave their homes. very concerned about the health of the people, the sick people that we take on this journey, as travel through the winter cold is probably not going to be best for them. But I understand you have done a lot for us already.
As I said, I will help you tend to your sick as best I can, and we may be able to offer some supplies. We do have a large ration of water that we are carrying with us.
How many pounds of water would you like?
If we head for Watchtower, if you could spare us some money to get started there to house everyone, that would be much appreciated. I'm going to need to call a meeting of the townsfolk, probably, hopefully, for later this afternoon. There's going to be a lot to prepare.
I will provide you with what I can, and I'll actually.
Meanwhile, every time you move, your backpack is just like ching.
Yeah,
ching, like all the coins.
I basically like, ugh. And I'll take 10 gold pieces out of there, and then I'll push the rest to her and be like, "Will this suffice?"
You're pushing the 10 gold pieces to her?
No, I'm taking 10 and pushing the rest.
Her eyes widen at that. Yes, this will do nicely.
Everybody's gonna be so mad.
She
I'm keeping the gems though. As well.
She there's a little disappointment in her eyes as you fish the gems out. But being a dwarf, she very easily can heft the entire backpack up. And she goes over and finds a crate and begins to pour the coins into the crate. And then using her dwarven abilities, sets up a couple crates next to it and seems to somehow sort all of these coins by type. As she pours. She then hands you back the backpack. I will go and organize everyone so that we can discuss leaving. I will make the case. Some will be left behind, no doubt, but I think most of us will follow your advice. If you could tend to the sick, you are such a hero. I don't know that this town has ever seen your like before.
I am only doing Ashros' work. So show me to the rest of your ill, and I will do what I can.
So she leads you out back into the main hall where you came in, and just as before, the sick are still there. The people you healed previously they've left, but their beds are now filled with new victims of this plague, as people can only wait so long before trying to drink the water again.
Mm-hmm. So can I do a medicine check to assess who are the worst?
Yeah. So yeah, I'll just say you can begin to triage these people and heal as many as you're able, and we can go back to the other people. Okay. So you're walking up the street looking for Daggerface. There are a number of shops. They appear to be open. Maybe one or two are closed. You don't immediately see Daggerface, but give me perception checks.
I sense a great loss of coin somewhere.
So as you're going, Zarius, you hear a bit of a gasp and looking through the open front of a store in the darkness within. You see Daggerface from behind is standing at a counter. It appears to be a tailor shop.
I'll head that way.
So you walk in, and he is there. The gasp appears to have come from one of the people who work the counter at this tailor shop. She maybe came in from the back and saw Daggerface for the first time. Another guy is off to the side, working with a needle and thread on some project. Daggerface is staring eagerly at that guy. And Daggerface turns around and sees you. Oh, hey, guys. Are we ready to go? I'll be done here in like 20 minutes, I think. Maybe half an hour.
Where are you getting?
I've decided to commission this fine craftsman here to make me a mask for this side of my face.
What kind of mask?
Oh, just a simple linen mask with a pattern on it that will hide this side of my face.
Just so long as it breathes properly, so that it can heal.
It's just linen. I assume it will be fine, but I've noticed that people don't react so well when they see me, so figured this was for the best.
They don't react too well when they see me either. I ain't covering up my face.
Oh, you are as the gods, I guess, made you, so I am clearly deformed, and people find it, I think, maybe even more frightening than they find you.
Well,
And if they knew of all your heroic deeds, surely they would embrace you as a brother.
I'd call it more grotesque, but there's no reason to cover it up.
Well, I would like to not frighten children at the very least as I walk down the street.
It is the boogeymen that keep them safe.
He's working his way up to the Phantom of the Opera porcelain mask.
Does he have? Is there some sort of design he has out that he wants? Or
Not exactly like this. From what you can see of what the guy's working on, this isn't. It's not like it's going to mimic the other half of his face or anything. It's really going to be kind of like almost like a gigantic eye patch. It's just going to go around the head and down this side.
so it doesn't look like runes and like a pentagram or some shit.
No, it appears to have kind of a floral pattern, like almost like vines or bushes across the surface of the cloth he's using. But it looks like it may have been like, this town isn't very nice, but in a nicer town, maybe it could have been made into curtains or a bedspread.
I just look at him and shake my head.
But in about 20 minutes, the guy hands over this mask. Like I said, essentially a giant eye patch, and Daggerface ties it on. And it's not that great a fit at first because it partially covers his one good eye because he's also trying to cover the nose. But he adjusts it so you can kind of see that he's missing his nose, and at least it's not blocking the vision in his one remaining eye. Then, however, every time he talks, the bottom of it flutters out. Well, I appreciate your waiting. I am ready to go. And at about this time, Lucirosi, you finished healing people. There are still, like before, there are more sick than you're able to heal, but you've taken care of all of the ones who were on death's door, who are now essentially back to full strength.
Excellent.
If, haunted by the experience, but physically fine.
How do the people react when we come in? Like when we came into the tailor shop?
They're not reacting so much. Everybody seems, again, pretty downcast and sullen. But nobody has at least said anything about you being there. Okay. They're not making eye contact, of course.
Well, that's good.
Hobgoblins take that as a sign of aggression and dominance.
All right. So I'll let everybody know. All right, I've done what I can with the sick, and I have convinced the Kina to have the town evacuate to Watchtower. She has asked if we would be willing to accompany her and the town to make sure that they can get back safely.
How much will we be paid?
So about that,
Just
obviously,
go negative 1,000 gold.
yes, it will basically be voluntary, as far as you know.
Your bag seems light.
You're sending them back to Watchtower.
There's little else that can be done if these people are going to continue to survive.
There's demons there too.
Yeah.
We
And all
took care of those ones.
the ones we knew about.
And my cousins are still knocking on the doors. They'll break through eventually.
For now, it is the safest option.
Well, good luck to them.
Not wasting any more time on this town.
I am disappointed to hear that, but I am not surprised.
So is the well water still bad?
I haven't checked.
I will say you were able to do that while you were healing people, and
Oh.
yeah, it still appears to be murky.
Okay. Yeah, the water has not been cleansed once we had executed the witch.
They should start getting their water from another town.
Yes, so I think it would be helpful if we can give them some of the water that we were given from Watchtower. If we are not going to accompany them, at the very least, we can make sure that they are supplied with enough fresh water to make the trip.
How much will they pay?
Nothing.
If we wait till tomorrow, I can create a lot of water.
We have a lot of water, so we could refill our stock and give them the water so that they can make the journey as quickly as possible.
Fine, but let us not waste any more time here.
Dustin is asleep.
I'm losing it, man.
We can wrap up in a little bit.
About to go full owlbear.
Yeah. I like woke up an hour and a half earlier than I normally do, and I couldn't fall back asleep. So
Lucerosi, you should at least mark that well so nobody comes along and tries to drink out of it.
That's actually not a bad idea. Especially if Cato is able to send somebody, they may see the town and not know what has happened.
Start unloading the water.
Sorry, what was that? I didn't hear.
I'll start unloading the water and start giving it to Lucerosi.
Okay. So you provide the town with water. signs are hung around the wells. I mean, you don't actually hang the signs yourselves because there's a lot of wells and you haven't seen them all. But you Kenna sends people around to hang signs on the wells, letting them know not to drink from it, that the water's been tainted. And they thank you once again for saving them from the fires. They don't seem to be aware of your killing demons that came out of the fires, so that didn't seem to get picked up by them. But they definitely thanked you for going out and searching for their people, for once they've heard the story, for dealing with the witch, and for giving them the advice of getting out of town. Some of them thank you for that. Others look a little more skeptical.
Okay. And then I'm gonna turn to everybody and say, I appreciate all of you. I know that you are not necessarily prone to acts of kindness and mercy, but we have done good work here, and I think that we can all be proud.
And as you're having this conversation, you realize it's once again started to snow outside.
Of course.
So increased dismay amongst the people who look skeptical about going on this trip.
It'll just weed out the weak ones.
Yep.
But Sally looks eager to get underway. She seems to like the snow. She is chomping at snowflakes as they fall by.
Cool.
Possibly
Is she bounding around in the snow?
Well, she's tied to the cart, so not so much bounding. She might be just delighted that all that fucking water's out of the cart now.
Yeah, that's good.
Is there any supplies that I could get from my weapons or here, or is it pretty much nothing here?
What would you be looking to get?
I just need to make more ammo.
You could probably, going around to, you could find like an herbalist and alchemist shop and get the raw materials to make gunpowder and get pellets. You wouldn't find like finished ammunition here. You'd have to make it from raw materials, but you could find the raw materials.
Okay. Because I want to get there. I want to go ahead and probably get it at a pretty good price or free, since they're packing their shit to leave anyway.
Right. Yeah, they would, given what you've done, even though you're a hobgoblin, a couple of them are able to swallow their pride and say that they're sorry. None of the people were, amongst the group you met, but that they're sorry that people said you were being turned away from the town. So yeah, they'll give you enough supply to make, let's say, 100 pieces of ammunition.
Okay.
See, not a total loss. Helping the town.
How much did we pay for those bullets? Which we have to make?
You don't want to know.
So as you set off out of the town again, there's definitely a cold wind that's blowing through that's probably causing this snow to fall. It's not falling super fast initially, but it does pick up over the course of the day. Not enough to slow you down. The road is in relatively good repair on this part of it. And I guess that's where we can stop so we don't lose Dustin.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Take care.
All right.
So see, Mike gave me an NPC and it came up right away.
Yay!
Peter also sent me stuff. I just haven't had time to read it yet. And Brendan sent stuff.
I'm still thinking. I have a lot of other story things going on that I'm trying to sort out. So
Yeah, it's not a huge rush.
I mean, this town ain't like Tarko, so I don't know what they're all.
I did feel sort of bad for your game, Peter, that really Breaker is just he's the character who I can't understand why he would want a stronghold. Even a free one. It's like I've got property taxes and work. I don't need that. I'm a free spirit, man. I'm a rolling stone.
I think you're still dated from the foundation that you got the last game. So,
Right. And then I rolled to get a follower, and I'm like, "Fucking farmer! What's he gonna do with a farmer?" The stronghold in a city on the ocean, like floating on the ocean.
Oh yeah, I've already been practicing that one. Yeah, that's one end, and then there was a really, really good roll on the other end. So that was pretty epic.
And then Tony, I got your email. I'm gonna respond to it probably after the game.
all right.
And then Brendan, did you ever get that link to work?
No, I think Dice Cloud's been down today because I tried logging onto it and it was just like not going to any links or anything.
I was looking at it earlier today. Maybe been down for a while.
It's up now.
Yeah, no, it's not up. I've got like all the other ones minus the new one.
Let's see.
Okay.
Australian Cloud is down.
Do you have like a username that you use for this?
For what? For the Dice Cloud?
Yeah.
Yeah, I send it all through an email. I use like was it Dalzahar, and then my email address, and I send you my API key as well. I'm not sure what that means, but I sent it.
Where did you send it to?
I
Can you resend it?
Yeah, okay.
And then we'll try and see if that works.
Okay.
All that copper, man.
Yeah.
And silver and gold.
Yeah, it was a significant amount of silver and gold as well.
Zarius uses copper in the funeral rites. One on each eye.
A lot of dead people.
I mean, there was nothing stopping you from picking up some of the copper. It was all over the place.
I just sent the email there.
All right, cool.
You were doing it for me. Why did I have to do it? I was like, all right, we got all that. We'll divvy it up whenever we find.
Yeah.
Divvy up 10 gold coins.
Yeah. Until you realize, oh, wait, Lucia Rossi loves to give this shit away.
Yeah, yeah, I'm at 10. All right.
I will send you an email in a few minutes, Mike. But otherwise, I will talk to y'all later.
All right.
All right. Later.
Take care, everyone. How you doing, Peter?
All right. I had to hold off. I was going to smoke that character real early.
I know you were. I feel like this is another one of those sessions, though, that I kind of monopolized.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, good. Lucia Rossi's a real stick in the mud. But he also, I think he's learning his limits, so he's like, I'm going to ask you guys if you're willing to accompany them. I know you probably will say no, but, you know.
Oh, yeah, no way.
Are we ever going to get to the manor?
Eventually, I guess.
Yeah, I created 2 NPCs, one an enemy and one an ally, using story dice.
Cool. Okay.
It worked out pretty well. So for the one for Kato, who's the ally, I rolled a man with a spear, a jester's hat, and a brontosaurus. So Kato is my mentor and was my superior at one point. We went on adventures. He's the only person that has ever made Lucirosi like consistently laughed and disarmed him enough to be a bit humorous. And they were on one adventure that took them to a Yuan-Ti sorcerer, where he stepped in front of a blast of acid to save Lucirosi, but lost his arm and damaged one of his lungs, and so he's retired.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And then the other guy's like a faceless assassin. Because one of the dice that I got rolled up Clayface from Batman. So I was like, well, what else is it going to be?
Cool.
All right, man. I'm going to hit the hay.
Alrighty.
Take care.
All right. I will see you Thursday.
Yep.
All right.
Bye.